Hey there, this is Pamela. Today I was reading an article that was in Stanford News. It's talking about genetic ancestry tests and how the results are shaping race self-identification. There's a quote that kind of encapsulates what I want to talk about today, because what they're saying is that as people have been getting these genetic tests and finding more about their ancestry, what people are doing is they're owning their ancestry, which I think is a beautiful thing. And it's actually a part of how we dismantle racism. It's also a part of how we begin to name and identify ourselves. Unfortunately, folks are saying that they don't appreciate this because what happens is people are now, because they're owning their different identities, they're checking all of these boxes instead of just checking the box that clicks their social identity. And this is the quote. They say, if we want to monitor current racial disparities with survey or census data, then we need information that relates more directly to experiencing discrimination, she said. Or we need to be clearer with people that when we're asking about race, we're asking about how you move in the world today and how other people react to you. I'm going to repeat that. We need to be clearer with people that when we're asking about race, we are asking about how you move in the world today and how other people react to you, which may not reflect the lifelong line of your family history. I don't know if that hit you the way it hit me, but this is something that I've been saying for a while, which is when we participate in the construct of race, what race is the stratification of human beings, a social standing. It's a social status. It is how people respond to us and how we will be treated based upon how we look. If we don't like this construct, this is how this group of people is treated, then we cannot dismantle it using that same structure. We have to move towards something else. And that is why I love the fact that people are beginning to identify with their ancestry, with their culture, because now that no longer puts you in victim state. And what I mean by victim state is when we're talking about race, we are saying, and I quote, we're asking about how other people react to you. I cannot change how someone else reacts towards me, but I can choose if I'm going to allow that to define me. And so if I am saying, yes, this is how people treat me, and I am okay with checking that box, then I am allowing myself to put myself in a space that says, these are the rules that we're playing by, and I understand it and I accept. What I think is happening is this evolution of our awareness, right? We are aware that we are not our race. In fact, race doesn't exist. I'm reading a powerful book and I'm looking for it right now. It's called The Myth of Race. It's written by an anthropologist. And one of the first things he says in this book is that anthropologists generally reject the notion of race. There's no scientific evidence that race actually exists. It only exists because it's a practice that someone put into practice, and then we all unconsciously or consciously began to participate in it. It's us having a candle that we use to light our world, but then somebody else discovering electricity, but we're still continuing to walk around with candles to light our way. You might be sensing my passion coming up with this. And you're absolutely right. I'm very passionate about this because I think that this is how we need to move. We have to have this awareness to come into an understanding of how we transform our society into a society that does work for us all, that doesn't give us a status based upon how we look, how we show up in the world. I was in this awareness today that our identities are being erased by the construct of race. And so I was looking up identity erasure, and this idea of identity erasure, most folks are only talking about it within the context of gender identity and sexual orientation. We're not applying the same awareness that we have about the construct of gender and allowing people to tell us how they want to identify with their pronouns, right? We're not applying that same awareness and that same intellect. We're not applying it to this construct that so many of us want to dismantle desperately. And so I think it's time that we have to begin to lead with new thought. We have to not be afraid that if we say something, it's going to be taken out of context or that we're going to be canceled. We have to be able to open up our conversations to discussing how do we navigate this world that has been very affected by race. We have been practicing this construct of race for centuries. And so we do need to be aware of it. But how do we live in the awareness of it without participating in it further? How do we deconstruct it? And we can't deconstruct it if we're still working within that system. And so one of the things that I talked about in my book, Healing Our History and Co-Creating a Culture of Oneness, is we need to begin to call ourselves by our own names. We need to be able to identify in ways that empower us, in ways that inspire us, in ways that society doesn't get to have a say in. And I think we also really very much need to connect back to our ancestry, connect back to our culture. And yes, it's going to seem as if there's so many different titles, but that's what diversity is about. It's about honoring the differences. And so even while we are championing diversity, we're still only championing diversity within these 5 little categories that we call race, that don't describe the richness and the beauty that actually exist in the human experience. And so today I just want to encourage you, think outside of the box. Think about how you wish to identify in this world. What has being white translated into in our world? Do you want to be defined by that? Or is there something more? Is there something richer? Is there something deeper? Can we let go of these archaic titles, of these archaic categories that were created to separate us? If you socially identify as a person of color or BIPOC, are we living in the full awareness that when we identify in these categories, one, we are not identifying ourselves, we're identifying ourselves in proximity to whiteness. So whiteness is defining us. Is there something more? Is there something deeper and richer that we really want to connect to, that we want to call out from within ourselves and reclaim? This is about reclaiming our identities in ways that make us feel powerful and strong and allow us to stand within our inner authority, stand within our inner power, and show up in a world undefined by it, but defining ourselves by the content of our character, by the beauty of our tradition, by the loving support of those who went before us and all that they dreamed for us. And even our countries of origin, the places where our ancestors have come from, the land that is still calling out to us because we are a part of it. And then how can we, after we do that, come to a place, an awareness, an understanding that those things also don't define us in the fullness of who we are? Because as humanity, we are powerful. We are strong. We all have the same desires to be safe, seen, and appreciated. How can we live knowing that our humanity is caught up with one another? No matter where we're from or the color of our skin or who our ancestors were, we are all connected by our humanity. I just wanted to share this awareness with you today, knowing that this has profoundly changed me, and I hope that what I'm sharing today has inspired and changed you.